Greetings! Welcome to the Devlog for hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, I've got some more feature preview stuff to show you folks. I have been, in addition to the secret stuff that I'll be showing off and announcing next week, been trying to improve the decal and hit sound systems that I showed you folks last update. So what is changing? What has been improving? Well, the big thing is that in terms of the way impact sounds work, for the build that you folks have to play with, I sort of kludged that system into the same system that plays object collision impacts. And while that worked and that was quick to bring up and working, that's limited by basically the material variation of object-to-object interactions, which is only in H3 system 9 materials maximum because of just the huge amount of sounds that involves for, you know, metal weapons and wood weapons and mags and all of that. Whereas bullets are a special case, and so I wanted a wider variety for that. So that system got completely rewritten this week, and along with it, there are now 27 different types of bullet impact sounds that can play. And I've got our Mark IV Whisper out here so that you can hear some of the variation. For one, metal impact sounds are no longer all the same. They're based, there's several different types. I have the sort of ricochet one that you've already heard that is primarily used for bot armor, assigned to these thin plates. I have, whereas for our thicker plates, we've got a significantly more solid sound. I love it. Love it. And of course, remember that the exact pitch and volume of all of the impact sounds is based upon the relative amount of velocity that is left over in the round when it hits something and what sort of intensity of round it is. So faster moving rifle rounds and machine gun rounds will make lower pitched and louder sounds than our little plinkin' 22s here. Let's see, there are differences in the wood sounds, and I replaced the wood sound that I had last week was a real sort of like clunky plywoody sound that is appropriate for something like a wood prop, like hitting a bucket or even sort of like a thin old sort of fallen apart wood beam, whereas like a wood wall should have a more solid sound. So these actually sound more like a bullet getting stuck in a piece of wood that's actually like fixed mounted to the ground. Ends up sounding almost more like a staple gun. Wouldn't be surprised if that's what the Foley originally brought from. And the concrete sounds are getting tuned as well. And there are a ton more that you will have to experience as I eventually get them in. The bot impact sounds have been tweaked as well. We now have a more distinct sound for hitting meat. Oh, that is... Sorry, buddy. We have a sound for hitting soft armor specifically.
Oh, come on. Get out of here.
Versus hard armor.
Oh, fully.
Oh, wait. Wonderful. So when you're fighting the breachers, you'll be able to really tell. I imagine that must be quite disorienting. I shudder to think how many of... Oh, well, we can see that one would have just gone right into my foot. One of the wonderful things about these impact decals and impact sounds is it's way more obvious now how many of these bullets are ricocheting back at me. Anyway, oh, and the last thing impact decal wise that I wanted to show you folks, nope, this is in machine pistols, is I've added a new type. I still need to make the color variations for it, but it didn't seem right that energy weapons like this just left a normal old decal, so I made a special type that is both emissive additively and multiplicatively on the underside. It's a little hard to see in these lighting conditions, but there's a little bit of scorching beneath the glowy part. I might actually increase the size of the scorch a little more to make it a little more obvious. But yeah, oh man, that's so neat seeing them go through stuff. As I said last week, one of the joys of this decal system is being able to actually see the full transit path of the bullet. This gets asked a bunch. I am not going to do exit holes. I might make it so that that's an option in the options panel. The reason for that is that a huge amount of the collision in the game is with collision solids, and there's no efficient way for me to determine whether a sort of back-facing decal should exist at all, like whether it's being placed in a place you could ever see, and I don't necessarily want to waste 50% of the decals or more on back surfaces that you'll never see. But as I said, I'll probably add it to the performance options when I allow you to set how many decals can exist, whether you want sort of exit decals to also be created. Thank you for your service. There we go. Anywho, man, what a mess this creates. Let's jump over to that sand trap scene I'm working on so I can show you one other fun sound thing that I got working this week. So, while playing around with impact sounds and testing how things felt, taking fire from bots at various ranges, I realized that what was really missing was to try to get in some bullet whizzes. For those of you who don't know, you can, in real life, the sort of two different sorts of sounds that you can hear in regards to bullets passing you or coming near you. With a subsonic bullet, if it's very close, you hear this sort of like whiz or buzzing sound. And with supersonic rounds, you actually hear more of like a crack sound when the round goes by. I don't have anything like supersonic bullet cracks in, and I'm still not positive I want to implement them, in part because it's actually just a really unpleasant sound to me. But I have put in some slightly illustrative bullet whizzes here, which I'm, instead of a SOSIG, I get to be the testing meat this time. Oh, here they come. Oh, 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 oh. They both see me now. Thank goodness they don't lead their targets. Oh, oh, oh. This way we can hear that bullet's impact on the sand. Oh, God. Oh, oh, gosh. Oh, let's get back over towards the building. Whew. Oh, there we go. Oh my goodness. It is remarkable how anxiety triggering it is immediately to have that. Let's actually get over by the wall here so we can also hear the impact sound on this. Oh, that's him hitting me. So there you have it. That is that's the beginning of that sound. It took me a while to figure out. It's surprisingly difficult to figure out in a guaranteed way whether a projectile passing your head should produce a sound or not that isn't, like, to determine that it's not one of yours, that it's headed in the right direction. But I finally figured out how to do it nice and cheap, reusing some math I had already done in the projectile class. So I'm quite happy with it. And by happy, I mean... Too much fun. Yeah, I'm not hitting that from here. Anywho, let's jump out of VR and talk about what's coming next week. Yo! So, out of VR. So what I am trying to get done for next week is to get enough of the impact sound and impact decal systems solid enough that I can move them out of the work in progress section and probably actually like expand one of the other options sections, because I think there's going to end up being more sort of performance and simulation related options over time, and I don't think they're organized as well as they could be. Honestly, so much involving the options panel really needs a reorg, but I'm not going to touch that in a large way right now because it's just too much to deal with. But that whole system has been received way better than I could have expected. Confession time. Before I actually put that out as an update, I hadn't actually played a round of Taken Hold with it enabled, and so I didn't actually realize just quite how terrifying it can be to be having the impact sounds sort of popping around you. I think it's really fantastic. I played a round of the King of the Grill in the Kappa Coliseum last night with the music disabled, so I could really hear it. And the experience of hearing shots landing around you before you realize what's shooting at you is just incredible. So I've decided to sort of like really focus on just like getting that cleanly implemented, performance efficient, and ready to go into the game now instead of waiting any longer with it, because it rocks, and it's such a clear improvement, and there don't seem to be, other than the floating decal bug, any major problems with it. So yeah, in terms of what else is coming next week, it's still Shotgun Month, and so next week is going to be the last big shotgun dump for you folks. I've got a couple really, really special pieces for you folks that I'm really excited about, as well as a relevant to the theme of shotguns Meat Fortress update for you. And then as the third part of what will be an exciting update, I've got a sweet announcement for you folks about what sort of the details of the next big focus for the game are going to be, that I've been super coy about, but will make certain things make sense involving the Sandtrap scene that you've seen me working on, and will hopefully sort of end up collectively answering a lot of very frequent questions that I get from folks all at once. So I hope you're all excited for that. Anywho, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all next Friday. Peace.